What's up everyone, you're watching the Downshift channel. My name is Adam and you join me in my recently purchased E30. If you'd seen the recent video you might have seen that I'd sort of gone over the reasons that I bought the car, and just to summarise really, if you haven't seen it, it was just nostalgia more than anything. I used to own an E30 and I really regretted selling it, and to be honest, the way classic car prices are going and the fact that I was kind of in a position to have 3 cars on the go at once, I decided now was the time, as good as any, to just go ahead and get one. So the car really is somewhat, I'd like to call a rolling project, because I don't want to use that word really, because it usually means the car comes off the road and it's never seen again, and then occasionally we post a picture and pretend we've done some work on it, but you know, we've all been there. So the purpose of this video really is to sort of to share my first thoughts of the car. I wanted to do it a little bit sooner, but the weather's been kind of bad, and I've actually been daily driving the car for 2 weeks I think, and I've done about 800 miles and it's been faultless so far. However, there are changes I want to make and I'll go over them as we go for a little drive. There's something kind of strange about this car for me. It's a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde personality, because I've clung on to these memories of my old E30, which was a little bit nuts and so much fun. And in its current guise, this is more suited to sort of cruising, because it's very slow and it's got the automatic box, which will be getting changed. But I did intentionally buy this one because I thought it'd be more fun to go through the process of doing it all for the videos and step by step. I actually want to start with the suspension and the geometry and get everything set up really nice. The brakes actually work very well because they're from an E36, but I'm going to figure out the perfect balance, and I think I might be wrong, it was a long time ago, but I think I had a 7 Series master cylinder which worked a lot better on my old car. Purple tag steering rack is something I'll definitely do, that's pretty high on the list of priorities. At the moment the caster is kind of wrong because it's running the E36 5-lug setup, as I just mentioned, but if you haven't got the correction lollipop bushes, the wheel kind of sits a little bit too far back in the arch. So although steering around town it feels kind of nimble and stuff, high speed it's a bit sketchy if I'm honest. But getting back to what I was saying, the personality of this car is a little bit different, having a full interior, and basically the first thing I wanted to do when I got in it was find my least scratched Wu-Tang CD and just cruise around, and I've had a lot of fun doing that, even just driving to work and back and just enjoying the car. But obviously it's an E30 and you know I'm going to have to make it a little bit more silly and have a bit more fun in it, because they're just the king of that car in that price point for me. I just touched on the fact that, you know, it's a little 4-cylinder and it's mated to this automatic, which is something I've never owned before. I am extremely surprised by how good this auto box is for its age. I've driven some like brand new automatic cars, like granted there were sort of lower market options and stuff, but like this box is better, and that is not a lie. I'm very impressed for the age of it, how sort of smooth and fast it changes, but you know it's dull, I'm not gonna lie. So the whole idea behind getting a slow car really for me was to set up the suspension as good as possible. It actually works kind of well at the minute. It's E36 M3 Evo Bilsteins on the front and AVO adjustable dampers on the back. It works pretty well. As I mentioned, the caster's off, so it's kind of hard to judge driving it at pace, but really I think E30s are more fun, sort of your 50 to 100 range, whereas the M3 is like 100 to 150, which is kind of silly sometimes. So I think it's nice to have that car that you can kind of enjoy it at slightly lower speed before I go ahead and like change the engine and the LSD, etc. Just to get the car to handle really well, and I think it'll teach me to sort of carry momentum a lot better. because I'm not relying on being able to get back on the power again. So not having the power, I think the car will kind of teach me how to drive a little bit differently, and that's what I'm hoping, and that's my intentions. I'm thinking, to be honest, I'll probably just buy the E36 328 and transplant everything. I noticed from the previous video that the feedback was actually really good. It got a lot of comments, and quite a few people are either owned or had owned E30s before, and quite a few people said they regretted getting rid of them, which I guess it's not just me. Basically, I'm looking for some recommendations of where to start. I've got a good idea myself, but I'm always open to listen to other people's feedback, because, you know, like, some people have done this 10 times over with 10 different E30s. I've only done it once. I'd like to do anti-roll bars, I think. It allows me to run a slightly less harsh spring rate, so I think it works a little bit better, because British B roads are great fun but pretty bad at times, very bumpy, and I think if you sort of get rid of your roll with the anti-roll bars but run a slightly more compliant spring rate, it allows you to put the power down better on B roads. Although I mentioned it already, I kind of like the comically large steering wheel. It's quite funny, especially when you're just sort of cruising around listening to music and stuff. It feels pretty good, but that is actually going to be the first thing that I change, and I've got a Momo on the way for this car. I think initially it kind of won't fit the personality of the car, but as I develop the car it will, and it doesn't really work that well when you're trying to drive fast, because I'm 6'3" myself, and although BMWs are pretty well suited for tall people, this is kind of close to my legs, so you're kind of touching as you move around, and yeah, that sounded quite bad, that, didn't it? Yeah, I was just leaving it at that. So when you kind of lean into this a little bit, you can feel some of that famous E30 handling is still there, even though it's not very well set up in its current guise. I did actually receive some pictures from the guy who put the car together originally, and he'd done it correctly, so I'm assuming what's happened is either somebody's gone for back to stock E30 arms on the front as opposed to the E36 M3 arms, and maybe that's what's brought the caster back out of line again, although it seems kind of coincidental that it's both sides. So I don't know, some investigations required, definitely. But as I said, the car drives and it's perfectly safe. It's just not set up in the best way that it could be. You know, it's funny, but I feel like I've kind of learnt a lesson already, and that's that you can have a great deal of fun in a car without a ton of power, and it kind of, as I mentioned, that's kind of what I wanted this car to teach me. It's just funny, and, like, you know, if a car puts a smile on your face, it doesn't need to have 500 horsepower, you know. And as I mentioned, modern cars now are so fast and so capable that unless you're doing very illegal speed, you're not having fun. And I'll stand by that statement, because the capability of the new cars, like, if you're doing below 100 mile an hour, most of the time they just feel like they're not even trying to stretch their legs, and it sort of takes the fun out of driving, if I'm honest. I'd much rather be rattled and shaked around and have to put in some work to get some reward. Maybe that's why old cars are getting so expensive. I don't know. It makes sense to me. Annoyingly, my camera died on the last clip yesterday, but basically, just to summarise, I'm interested on people's thoughts on what they think of the E30. For me, I love it. It's as slow as it is, and it's, like I say, it's a little bit of a different character to my old one, but it's still a lot of fun, and I'm just happy that I bought it. So this is E30 Diaries Part 1, and Part 2 is coming very soon. I mentioned I'd ordered some parts already, so if you're looking forward to that, you know where to come.
I thought really have the acceleration.
Yeah, hopefully you'll understand that.
So just open the door like a little bit.